Here is another session from the series Defense Against Dark Act. We're focusing on developing the knowledge, awareness, mental readiness to prepare our own protection shields against these frauds and intruders. In this session, we'll be discussing about digital arrest scam. This scam has caused significant anxiety, distress, and financial losses to a great percentage of our aged population, particularly the senior citizens. Let us look at how this particular scam is usually carried out. So, the modus operandi involves the fraudster and uninformed people. So, usually, the fraudsters would establish a communication channel to uninformed people. They will masquerade as government officials and develop a crime scenario. And they'll use breached data to make it sound authentic. And usually, they are developing many different types of scenarios. Sometimes it is about a parcel that has been booked by using the victim's Aadhaar card, identity document, and the parcel contains illegal substance. It has been seized by customs, and customs is conducting an inquiry, an investigation, something like that. Or sometimes it's a uh, case of loan fraud where a substantial amount of loan has been taken by using the identity of the victim, and the loan related investigations has come to uh, you know under the purview of a particular police station, and from where the police officials are um, starting this investigation and inquiring about the victim's involvement. There could be various such scenarios that they could develop as a crime scenario. And of course, they are going to leverage some data that has been breached. It could be your identity document, or it could be your uh, address and identity document. It could be a combination of some data that ties you to a particular crime scenario in a uh, in a in a in a way that you would not be able to deny entirely about the involvement. That's how usually the crime scenarios are developed by these fraudsters. So what happens usually is that by hearing these allegations and the way the breach data um, is used to make these allegations sound authentic, um, the victim would tend to, you know, panic. They would, in the fear and anxiety, they would respond and they would try to find a way out. They would try to prove their innocence, and something along those lines is exactly what the fraudster expects you to respond with. So they offer something like scenarios like digital arrest as a way out. It uses the video presence to continuously exert psychological pressure through real world like interactions. So they will uh, put themselves into uh, video calls, and they would ask you to come on a video call, and they will show a scene that would look like exact real world like scenario. It will look like a police stations or a customs office or something similar, and they would keep you on that video call for hours after hours. They will kind of say that this is the government policy now, that okay, you'll have to be under video surveillance, and they are basically going to create pressure by using this as the method for supervising your actions. And they would push you hard to make some settlement for the case. And of course, the settlement would require you to transfer um, money to them. It could be as bail money, it could be as out of court settlement money, or it could be as some other kind of compensation. But eventually, they will push you hard to transfer money to them. This, at some point, will, you know, blow up in a way that the victim would give up the resistance, they will transfer the money, and they will end up becoming the victim of digital arrest scam. Now, what could be a counter strategy here? Well, instead of the fear and anxiety, we'll have to respond with a level headedness and clarity of thoughts to validate the situation. You need to conduct a situation analysis for yourself. So, when you're getting involved in this kind of communication, if it ever happens with you, you will have to know the way to conduct the situation analysis, and you'll have to keep a check on your emotions. Once you respond with level headedness and clarity of thoughts to validate the situation, fraudsters would actually try and exert more pressure on you. They would probably offer some more proofs, data to convince, and they would exert more pressure to make you come under the digital arrest situation. And again, usually when the victim is, giving up on that in desperation, this is where you'll have to decide your course of actions diligently. You'll have to decide the course of actions, communicate as much needed, and break off for offline validation. This situation analysis and this diligent decision making for the next course of action is what could protect you from becoming a victim. This will have to be the counter strategy, but easier said than done. So, how exactly to conduct a situation analysis? Here are a few recommendations. First and foremost, you should be aware that a police officer may call someone for preliminary inquiry before an FIR or may call someone for official inquiry after filing an FIR. An FIR can be an EFIR or physically documented FIR, but an FIR must always have information about the incident, information about the investigating officer in charge, and physically located police station or cybercrime station under which the investigation is being carried out. If an FIR has been filed under cybercrime category, it must represent a cybercrime, not a physical crime. Now, important points to note that notices and summons can be delivered through WhatsApps and emails. Um, the Honorable Supreme Court, in cognizance for extension of limitation, Suo Moto number 3 of 2020, has observed and held that the service of notices, summons, and exchange of pleading may be done by email. Facts are commonly used instant messaging services such as WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, etc. So this has been a Supreme Court ruling. So why we are discussing that? Because when you will have to analyze the situation yourself, you need to understand that some of these, I mean, if you're asking the legitimacy of this communication, if you're asking, at all, how legitimate this is, the other party could give you some, sort of genuine looking data like this, an FIR, like, you know, if you're questioning on whether can you deliver an FIR over WhatsApp, they might as well show you this Supreme Court ruling or something similar that kind of will give you an added feeling that, okay, the case could be genuine enough because they're talking the same legal language, same with same authority that usually a government official department would exhibit. So this is the reason why you need to know that all these are legitimate, but these being legitimate doesn't make the case being legitimate. You'll have to analyze how the documentation or the proofs that they're providing, how those need to be validated. So the authenticity of notices and summons received by the individuals will have to be verified from source by recipient. So it's a responsibility of the recipient to verify the authenticity. And you will need to know how to verify it. And there are some information around that uh, we'll be discussing about in next few minutes. And as on the date of publishing this content, digital arrest has not been recognized as government adopted procedure. Now, with that as the precursory information, let's look at the potential line of interactions that you can maintain while you are um, dealing with a situation like this and while you will have to assess the genuineness of the scenario and the extent of data breach. You need to ask full details of the described scenario. Say, if the scenario involves a courier package, a parcel, ask about the tracking number, ask about the to and from address, the to and from phone numbers, courier company, source courier branch, details of the persons accepting the package for courier at source branch, destination courier branch, intercepting location, identity proofs used to book the package, details present in the identity proof. You need to ask these questions so that you know how how much extent of the data has already been breached. And you'd also have to understand the legitimacy of the situation. Now, if the scenario, let's say, involves a loan fraud, ask about the lender's full profile information, loan mediator's full profile information, which loan app or financial institute really is mediating this loan, branch, location, the website of lender's intermediator, identity proofs used by borrower or the fake borrower for registering the profile, the amount, the tenure, the payback procedure of loan, guarantor's profile for loan, complainant's profile, complainant's location, complainant's identity proof as used. You need to ask these questions because you need to really get to the bottom of it on how genuine the situation is looking like, and you need to understand the amount of preparedness the other party might be having. If it is a genuine scenario, they'll be ready with all these details in general. Now, beyond that, you'll also have to ask about the details of the investigating agency and department, the branch, the officer in charge's name, email, phone number, FIR details if filed, start date of investigation, reason for discussing this remotely and not contacting local department branch. So some of these details will essentially lead you to have a round of offline validation. If it is a police station somewhere in a remote corner of the country, you can always ask about the reason why they have not reached out to your local police station, why they have not contacted the local police station to carry out this investigation. physically, or do they plan to do that? And some of these questions and some of these inquiries from your side will actually also diverge details that will help you make a decision on the genuineness of the scenario. Now, in general, you should avoid app-based voice and video calls. Take the call on mobile phone and record the conversation using call recording feature. That could prove handy if the situation is unfolding into a case where you need to involve the government officials on your behalf. Now, while you'll have to decide the next course of actions, there are again some precursory information that you should be aware of. If you are facing this situation, then one of the scenario would have to be true. Either the scenario and investigating agency and authority are real, but an imposter have been trying to trap you by impersonating as you, and he took the fraudulent actions as getting reported here. Well, of course, you know that you haven't done that, but it could be a situation that somebody else has done it. That person is the imposter, and this investigation is actually real. This could always be one possibility. And the second possibility is that the investigation itself is fake, itself is a scam. And you will have to assess which one is true through these process of due diligence. Now, either of the above cases, either of the two cases just talked about, you have the right to check the authenticity of information provided to you. And you should cooperate with the investigation once it is confirmed that investigation agency is authentic. And you should preferably, involve local authorities. And also, you can think of appointing a lawyer on your behalf if possible. All these are within your rights. These are something that nobody can deny if you are willing to try this out. So, as potential next steps, while you are deciding the next course of action, every information about the government agency, the police station, the station in charge, you can validate those from a government rolled website of the respective states or union territories. You can actually use that information to contact the station in charge, pick up the information from the government websites, pick up the contact information from there, and then contact the station in charge offline and, uh, find out if they have particular, investigating matter with them or not. Is the whole thing valid at all or not? Is the case is being presented here is authentic or not? If you have the copy of FIR, if that is provided to you, you can as well go and check with your local police station to understand if this FIR is a valid or not. I mean, today everybody can make a genuine looking FIR created digitally, but whether that is a valid one or not is something that a local police station should be able to help finding out. And with that, if you are leveraging official channel to contact the investigating police station to understand the matter, you would be able to easily make out, whether this case is, at least the investigation is real or fake. And of course, you know, at a suitable point, consider appointing a lawyer on your behalf if you think that this is really getting into a situation where um, the investigation is not fake, or you're not being able to make out whether the investigation is fake or not. Consider appointing a lawyer. It would always be helpful for you. And if the case is turning out to be a case of fraud, communication should submit that information to Government of India's Chakshu portal. It's the URL you can see on your screen. It's a URL uh, for Sanchar Sathi, the sancharsathi.gov.in/sfc/, and this will trigger another round of independent validation on the particular number through the telecom operators and so on. Now, we were discussing about the government websites where you can have every details of police stations, station in charge, communication address or number and emails for particular station in charge of the police stations. So there are all these websites that are captured in this content for your benefit. Let me run you through that quickly. So these are those websites of police departments of various Indian states and union territories and major cities. You can uh, use this information. You can look up and find the particular police station's contact information for the station in charge and have an offline validation on particular inquiry. And these are the remaining ones. Okay, with that, I think we've kind of discussed and uh, created sort of a coverage over strategy that can help you counter, you know, these scams if you're at all getting uh, becoming a victim of it. And in summary, no matter how difficult the situation may appear, if you can keep your mind centered and keep a check on your emotions, there should be enough pointers around you that can help you to get hold of the situation and protect your interest. You need to stay observant, stay centered, and keep your shield up. We'll be discussing on more such scenarios and more recommendations and suggestions. We'll bring it on this series of videos. Keep watching.